Most disturbing US government experiments.
Number 6. In 1934, the CIA ran a series of human experiments led by a Cornell University researcher named Dr. Harold Wolfe. The purpose was to study Chinese brainwashing techniques, which they then used to develop new interrogation methods. Some of the methods they used were imprisonment, deprivation, humiliation, torture, hypnosis, and more. Dr. Wolfe began developing secret drugs and various brain-damaging procedures, which had terrible consequences for those unlucky test subjects. Number 5. From 1956 to 1957, the U.S. Army led a number of biological warfare experiments on the cities of Savannah, Georgia, and Avon Park, Florida. The goal of the experiment was to release millions of mosquitoes into the cities in order to track how fast they could spread yellow and dengue fever. Ironically, many of the researchers contracted various types of illnesses, including fever, respiratory problems, and typhoid. In order to measure the results, Army researchers pretended to be public health workers, where they learned that many people died as a result of the research. Number 4. In the 1950s, the CIA ran another mind control research program. This time, they sought to study the effects of LSD on individuals. Random people from San Francisco and New York were lured by CIA-paid prostitutes into safe houses, where they were unknowingly administered with LSD and other mind-altering substances. Researchers gathered tons of data on sexual blackmail, surveillance technology, and mind-altering substances for field operations. The project was finally shut down in 1965, when it was discovered that the CIA was administering horrific substances to human subjects. Number 3. In 1943, the U.S. Navy was testing the effectiveness of new clothes and masks against deadly gases at the Naval Research Laboratory in Washington. 17 and 18-year-old kids were convinced by U.S. Navy scientists to take part in a research that would help shorten the war. It was not until the test subjects arrived at the facility that they knew the research involved spraying them with mustard gas. Almost all subjects suffered severe lung and skin burns, leaving them mentally and physically scarred for the rest of their lives. Number 2. From 1963 to 1973, many Washington and Oregon prison inmates were used as guinea pigs in a research to study the effects of radiation on testicles. Lured by cash and the promise of parole, 131 inmates agreed to the study conducted by the University of Washington, backed by the U.S. government. Inmates were forced to get a vasectomy and were administered with 400 rads of radiation to their testicles, the equivalent of 2,400 chest x-rays. Much later did the inmates learn about the dangers of the experiment, and in 2000 they finally landed on a $2.4 million settlement from the university. Number 1. During South Africa's apartheid era in 1969, Dr. Aubrey Levin, a U.S. Army colonel, took over the care of thousands of homosexuals. The South African military prohibited homosexuality within the force, so Dr. Levin used electroshock therapy to cure his patients. He made gay men fantasize about other males using images, at which point the subject was administered severe shocks. Dr. Levin feared human rights violations and moved to Canada, where he currently works at a teaching hospital. Thank you for watching our first video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. And if you have suggestions for future videos, please leave a comment below. Thanks again!